All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip, where every single week I come to delivering different tips, tactics, and strategies that I've learned on my 20-year-long real estate career journey now that's allowed me to become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet, with selling well over 7,000 homes, as well as coaching and mentoring over 5,000 real estate agents, team leaders, and broker owners, and sharing this knowledge and information with you. So then that way you can crush it inside your own real estate business and dominate your own real estate goals. All right, so today I want to talk to you about the fact that you do not need to cold call to grow your real estate business. I recently had a question because I was having a conversation with some agents on a live training that I was doing, and questions came up about cold calling. And cold calling 100% is effective. I'll talk about it here in a moment as to maybe the benefits as to why you might want to consider it. But again, it definitely isn't necessary. The vast majority of my business has not been built off of cold calling. Now, do we do some cold calling internally as a team? Sure. Do we have some strategy that we go after? Sure. But the vast majority of my business, the vast majority of the 7,000 plus homes that I've sold and my team and I have sold, have not come from cold calling. The vast majority, kind of the foundation of my business, has been inbound style ways of doing business. But during this, just because on that conversation, I was getting several questions about cold calling and going deep into that. And then somebody asked me, another realtor asked me, well, can I have success without cold calling? I'm like, 100%. And you stated the same thing that I just stated to you guys. And I know that cold calling is something very popular inside of our industry. But I also get and understand why a lot of you may not want to do it. And there's definitely some pros and cons of each. Now, one of the pros of inbound marketing, there's multiple different pros. And when I say inbound, I shouldn't say inbound marketing. There's a difference between prospecting marketing. But one of the benefits of the inbound style business is, number one, typically it's just more enjoyable. Like I like it when people are reaching out to me saying, hey, we're thinking about buying or selling, want to see if we could sit down and have a conversation. Like they're coming to me, they want to talk to me, they're chasing me, I'm not chasing them. So number one, it's just more enjoyable. I don't have to deal with all the freaking rejection and getting yelled at and some of the things, some of the negatives that can come across with cold calling. The other thing is it's more scalable over time. Right. So as an individual agent, and let's just say you're going out there cold calling. Yeah. If you're wanting to go from closing a deal a month to 3 deals a month to 6 deals a month to, 10 plus deals a month, look, you can do all those things through cold calling. However, when you start building and scaling a team, eventually you're going to need a team. And I know that there's individual agents out there popping 300 units or 500 units that don't have a team. That's absolute utter bullshit. They have a team. Now, it may not be a team and the way that I have a team, meaning where I've got a lot of different agents working with me. But a team is just more than one human beings working together with the same collective goal. So okay, here's an example. At one point, my best month personally for a closing was 67 units, 67 closings in 1 month personally. Those were all my deals, right? So I could technically say, oh, I've closed 67 units in 1 month as an individual agent. But that's not necessarily true. I had a small army of admin. I had one admin that would take the inbound listing calls, would get everything, then, schedule the appointments, and then would get everything prepped and ready for me. So then I'd walk in the office. Hey, here's the, 6 listing presentations that you have today. They'd run all the comps, have the marketing materials, all that all put together for me. So I just had to grab it, review it, and then go on the appointments. Then I had a listing coordinator that once I got the signed listing agreement, they would input it, they'd order the photo, like they would take it all the way to getting that thing live. Then I had another assistant that would manage all the offers, right, and put together all the offer details so I could quickly go out there and present those to my sellers. Then I had contract to close, people, assistants doing all my contract to close stuff. So essentially, all I had to do was go on the listing appointment and then meet with the client to sign the deals. Everything else was done for me. So even though, okay, technically on a word standpoint, could I have said I was an individual agent? Yes. But was that really the case? No, I had a team of support, in a different way. So eventually though, let's just say you're going to go a team route where you're going to start adding agents. Well, it can be very, very difficult. I've yet to see, I don't want to say it's impossible, but I've yet to see anybody pull this off at a high level. Meaning, okay, you look at the top 50 team leaders, in the United States, based on the Wall Street Journal, standards. I don't know any of them that have hardcore, just a cold calling team, an army of cold calling agents, right? Most of them are going to be inbound because it's a lot easier to get your agents doing those things. It's a lot more scalable, with that. But the first thing that I want you to understand is everything works, nothing doesn't. All these strategies, can be highly effective. There's just pros and cons of each. So I want you to know that cold calling 100% works if it's something that you want to do. And I'm not saying to not do it. Look, it is still an element of my business. It wasn't for a lot of years, but in the last couple of years, we brought back, an element of it, just because it's a quick way to go out there and get now listings. But what are some of the benefits of going out there and cold calling? Okay, it's free, or I should say close to free. You might have to buy a dialer. You might have to buy the data, but it's really inexpensive and as close to free as you can absolutely get. Reason number two, why you might want to consider it. It's extremely, extremely predictable. It can be more, I don't want to say inbound's not predictable, but cold calling, one of the benefits is it's extremely predictable. Let's just say I want to list a property a week through calling absentee owners. Well, I know based on my numbers and team numbers, averages, we do 500 dials, 50 conversations, one listing taken per week. So we can start chunking that down. Okay, 100 conversations or 100 reach outs, 10 conversations per day. So it's extremely, extremely predictable. The next benefit is it's quick, immediate business. That's one of the reasons why cold calling is so great, is it's going to get you that now immediate business. And when I say now immediate, I'm talking about activities that can lead to a paycheck in less than 120 days. Now, the cons are, okay, man, yeah, you got to hit the phones. You got to deal sometimes with a lot of rejection depending on who you're cold calling. And a lot of the rejection is more based on skill set. If you're targeting the right people and you have a very, very high level skill set, you don't need to necessarily deal with a lot of this, nasty conversations, shutdowns, rejection, but most don't take the time to go invest in, really mastering tonality, pre-framing, mastering their scripting, differentiations, so they don't have to do that. So most people that jump into cold calling are going to experience a lot of rejection, which can be demoralizing. And then the next con that I said just a moment ago is hard to go out there and scale. Now, when we look at inbound strategy, so business coming to us, because you got outbound, you got inbound. So we just split these into two buckets. So if you're not wanting to, go after cold calling, okay, now we're going to have, and when I say cold calling, you can also throw door knocking in that bucket, kind of same thing. I'd rather cold call versus door knock all day long. Answer rates are going to be the same. Conversions are going to be every bit as good, if not better. But let's just say they are the same, well, then from there, you can just do way more dials and have way more conversations because you're removing all that drive time, the time between doors, so you can hit more volume. Plus, you don't have the weather aspect. If it's snowing out, if it's raining out, or if it's terrible weather out, or here in Arizona, if it's 115 degrees out, or whatever. And then you don't have the safety issues. So I'm not a fan of door knocking unless it was my only option because of those things. Okay, so then when it comes to inbound strategies, and they're amazing. This is my favorite way to grow my business, man. Again, I like people coming to me, people that are excited. It's just an easier, more enjoyable way of doing business. But for the vast majority of them, they are longer timelines. This is where we got to just deal in realities and understand this. So like, here's an example. And I'm going to go through, some different examples with you guys here and break some different ways that you can do inbound and whatnot. But let's just say I want to go out there and start building out my YouTube channel. Organic YouTube, like you have your YouTube channel that you're building out, is one of the hottest lead sources that I've ever seen. When I say the hottest, like it's almost as good, if not very comparable to past client repeat referral business. Like it, or referral from another agent that really talks you up, that that sells you really good. Hey Josh, we're good friends with Joe and Sue Bob. They said that you were their realtor and you did an amazing job. We're thinking about buying and selling, and Joe and Sue Bob said that we had to use you, or highly can recommend. Want to see if you could schedule time to meet with us. Again, like YouTube is to that level because these are people that have experienced a lot of your content. They spent hours and hours and hours with you. They already know you, like you, trust you. The people that don't know you, like you, trust you, just like here on the GSD Mode podcast, maybe so you're watching this on YouTube, the people that can't stand me, I don't know, my personality, the way I talk, the way I look, whatever their judgment is of me, Okay, well, they don't continue watching the shit, right? Or maybe they don't like my mouth. I get that, I get some of that, quite a bit. I don't know how to be anybody else but me. So I'm just going to be me, right? If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, okay, that's okay too. But those that don't like it, they're not engaging and they're sure as hell aren't reaching out to me for any element of business. It's going to be the people that, find this information valuable, that do, like, trust you, right? All of those things that end up reaching out and doing some element of business with you. But then with that, okay, if I do everything right on YouTube, I don't make any mistakes. Okay, it's about 12 months on average, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. I'm talking about averages, right? It's on average 12 months before we start seeing good, consistent business coming in from that medium. Now, these are people reaching out to you that, again, know you, like you, trust you. They're excited to be talking to you. They answer your calls. Your relationships are good. You go out there, start showing them homes. They ask sometimes if you can do a selfie with them because they feel like you're a local celebrity, right? Like, it's an awesome source, but it's a long build-up time. So now there are two that I can think of, at least at this moment. There's probably more, but two, that really stand out to me right now, of inbound style strategies that you can do, sources, if you will, that you can do that are immediate timelines. And again, immediate, I'm talking about what can we do now that's going to lead to a paycheck in less than 120 days. That's going to be open houses, which, if you do open houses right, should be a mixture of buyer and sellers, about 60% buyer leads, 40% seller leads. So, if you are sitting there saying that, I don't do open houses because I just want to focus on seller leads. Look, your conversions on seller leads through open houses will be higher than your conversions on expireds or pretty much any other source that you can think of, higher than Facebook. So if you're doing them right, you can get a shit ton of sellers, but you are going to get, a lot of buyers, at your open houses, but they're more now immediate. Now, it's a lot of averages. Of course, you're going to have your immediates. You're going to have your 3-month people, your 6-month people, your 9-month people, your 12-month people, your 2-year people, and so on. But you're going to also just because of, where people are at inside that funnel, they've already narrowed down the area. They typically, people that are walking through and looking at open houses. Yeah, you get some looky-loos, but about 10% of those leads are going to be now, ready to rock and roll, that you get if you know how to do open houses effectively. If you don't know how to do open houses effectively, you're not going to see those results. But if you do them right and you know how to do them and you have the right process and skill set and you're hitting them right, you should be converting 1 out of 10 leads. The other lead source is what I call intentional online lead sources. By intentional, I mean people are going to this platform with intent to look at real estate. When they inquire as a lead, they have a specific question about that property and or are looking to go out there and schedule a showing. So these are going to be your Zillows, your Trulias, your Realtor.coms, your Realty.coms, and there's a bunch of other ones out there, but those are the most that you're probably familiar with. Zillow being the juggernaut. So again, you don't go to Zillow to do anything other than one damn thing, which is to look at residential real estate on that platform. Right. So they're going there with intention, and when they're reaching out, right, they are they really replace the modern day sign call. So, very strong lead sources, not saying they're right for you per se. I did a podcast about a week ago on how to identify if these sources are right for you, because they are expensive. That's one of the cons. Open houses aren't expensive, but they take time and energy. These intentional online lead sources are expensive. You got to be very reactive. But if you work them right, the ROI can be amazing. Right. So there are 2 types that are more immediate, but outside of those 2 types, the vast majority are going to be longer term. So we gotta understand this. This becomes really imperative, because I talk to so many people that reach out to me like, well, Josh, I really want to grow my business through inbound sources. But man, I need money in like 4 or 5 months. Like, I'm going to be in trouble if I don't start getting some closings and turn my situation around in the next 4 months. Okay. You might, unless you're willing to go out there and do a bunch of open houses, and maybe you're in a financial situation where it doesn't make sense to go out there and invest in, these intentional online sources. Then from there, maybe we got to suck it up and go out there and do some cold calling, for a brief period of time, while focusing on simultaneously building up your long-term sources that will eventually replace this thing. So it's not a forever thing. It might just be a temporary thing to turn around your situation. And sometimes, I'm not saying that you have to do this, but sometimes in certain situations, we got to do shit we don't necessarily want to do, to go out there and get the results that we need to get based on our current situation in the moment. So sometimes you just got to suck it up, buttercup, right? When it comes to that, not always, but we want to deal in realities with this stuff. You don't want to be delusional when it comes to business planning, focus on the wrong things that take too long. And then now all of a sudden you're fucked because you're out of money. And then now you're having to go get another job, and this becomes all for naught. Okay. So let's break down some examples for new client acquisition. And so when I say new client acquisition, I'm not talking about past client sphere of influence here, right? That should be a leg that we all have. I'm talking about, okay, if you got that going on, you got that in place, or maybe you're new and you don't have, much of that in place yet, but you're wanting to grow and scale the number of new clients, new units that you're doing, like maybe right now, all of your business has been past client repeat referral business. You're averaging 24 units a year, but you need to scale up to 48 units a year. Okay, we're going to have to add at least one, if not, a couple new client acquisition strategies inside your business, because past client repeat referral business, especially in a climate like we're in right now, is just going to be too slow of a build time. It might take years for you to get to those 48 units, not 12 months, based on that scenario. So we're talking about new client acquisitions here. Then from there, just for this example's sake, let's just say, okay, I want to go after listings. I really want to scale, with all this NAR, DOJ stuff, man. I'm not going to not work with buyers, but I think it might be, a kind of a good idea to make sure that I'm, starting to focus a little bit more on the listing side. So let's just say, and again, I'm not saying you got to do these things. I'm just using this as examples here for this podcast. So new client acquisitions side, then we want to go after listings. Next step is then to identify, okay, who has the high, so this is where strategy comes in, who has the highest probability of needing our services based on the market and the economic climate that we are in. This becomes really important. This is how we put strategies together, right? So then from there, there's 5 right now today, as of July 14th of me recording this podcast, that are hitting the best right now today in the economic climate and real estate climate that we are in right now. You got for sale by owners, you got expireds, we got absentee owners, divorces, pre-foreclosures. There's other things that work, but these are hands down going to get the best juice for the squeeze. Now, when I talk about these things, most are like, oh, well, Josh, now we're getting back into cold calling. No, right? We got to first select your who, then we select the how, then we select the messaging, put these things together. Then that comes up with your lead generation strategy. All of these things, all targeting any of these, kind of sub niches here, we're going after listings. That's kind of, the macro niche. Then we start, getting, niching down further. Okay. Then we got, all these different niches within that macro niche. But that's going to be the who has the highest probability of needing to go out there and sell right now, where there's an element of urgency. So that's where that need, we don't want to target people that want, we want to target people that need, at least in this market climate that we are in. So, okay, those are the 5 that hit best. So let's just say, as an example, you're like, okay, I'm going to go after expireds. Okay, now let's just start making a list of, okay, what are our options? How can we go out there and start targeting these? Okay, yeah, we can go out there and cold call them. That's the most common in our industry. 100% can be doing that. Now, as an example, I first started off in the industry in 2005, cold calling expireds. I was doing open houses every single day, but then quickly realized that, man, I'm spending like 10 hours a week, essentially like prospecting realtors, because I didn't have any listings in my office, to beg them to do their open houses. And I was like, okay, well, I want to keep doing open houses, but this is a bottleneck for me. So if I had my own listings, I wouldn't have to, waste that time. I could be more, consistent, predictable on my open houses, and it just made more sense instead of spending 10 hours a day just begging them for me to do their listings, right? So I started calling expireds very quickly. Now, I was 23 years old. 2005, I didn't know what I didn't know. So, I didn't know what I know now, where, okay, like, hey, I could have honed in my skill set, honed in my process, and made those calls a hell of a lot easier, a lot more fun. But I very quickly realized this freaking sucks, right? I was like, this is, a lot of pain. I hate rejection, just like most people, right? I've gotten better at it. My skin's gotten thicker over the years, but back then, for sure, I just hated it, like most in our industry. So then I was like, all right, man, how can I get these same people, it's a hot lead source, how can I get them calling me instead of me chasing and calling them? So then I was like, okay, well, I think, letter campaigns would be very effective. So I started then, tweaking and going out there and writing different letter campaigns and seeing what worked and seeing what doesn't work. And over time, I came up with a very, very highly effective, highly converting expired letter campaign that I still use to this day. This thing has made me millions and millions of dollars throughout my, 19 years that I've been implementing this letter. I shouldn't say 19 years, because there's been a couple years, I stopped doing it for a little bit during the great financial crisis, because we were so busy with just foreclosures and short sales. And then between 2020 and 2023, I stopped it because we were busy in other ways and the inventory was so low. There were just expires were kind of non-existent, but we're, so there's been some breaks for certain reasons, but for the most of my career, been doing them now. Great, amazing results. So then from there, okay, now I'm doing these letters, and now I've got expireds. Instead of me calling them and chasing them, I've got them calling me saying, hey, Josh, I've been receiving your letters. We're thinking about, listing our home, and just want to see if you'd be willing to meet so we could have a conversation about, listing our house. Though that's the way I love doing business, man. Right now, here is the thing that you need to pay attention to, that you've got to deal in realities with. Okay, on that letter campaign, my average call from the average expired that's on that letter campaign calls me after receiving letter number 8. So that is 5 months post expiration. The immediates are going to usually be swallowed up by the people that are hitting the immediates over the phone. Yeah, right. So then from there, we got to deal in realities with that. So, okay, let's just say I get that call 5 months post expiration, go on the listing appointment. They now need 2 weeks to prep and get their house ready for market. Then it's another week to bring in photographers, get everything ready, get on market. So we got 3 weeks. So now we're at 5 months and 3 weeks. Then let's just say it takes, a month and a week of maybe my average days on market is 37. I think mine right now is 37 days, 39 days maybe, but I'd have to look. I'm just trying to go off memory here. So let's just say, okay, it takes me another, month and a week. So then now we're at 7 months before we go under contract from when I first started that expired on that letter campaign, right? Now let's just say it takes, another 45 days once it's under contract. Maybe there's some snags and we have an extensions, but then we finally get it closed. So 45, days. So another month and a half. So now we're looking at 8.5 months before that paycheck is in my hand. So this is just what we got. I mean, that's just kind of a realistic timeline with this. Yeah. Right. So that's what we got to deal in realities. Right. So then, okay, well, I want to start doing the mailer campaigns. Do I need to maybe do some cold calls in the moment? Right. To, like, if I need an expired listing before the end of this week, okay, I know I can pound those phones and go out there and get a listing before this end this week. Because again, it's very predictable. They're very quick. That's the benefits of pounding the phones. Now, maybe you have a current enough, lead gen sources to float you, and you can gradually build up for this, and you have the time to wait. Cool. Or we can stack it with other inbound quicker sources like, open houses, where, open houses is classified as prospecting, not marketing, but you got people coming to you. Yeah, right. You're able to meet with them. You're face-to-face immediate with leads, right. Very good source, non-threatening source, not having to deal with all the hate and the rejection and lots of great conversations there. So when we look at these, now you can go letter campaigns, letters or mailers. That's one way. We could cold call. That's a way. We could do letter or mailer campaigns. That's a way. Hey, look, I could scrape this data. I can get their names, phone numbers, email addresses, scrape that data, upload them into a Facebook custom audience, and I can target them with ads on Facebook and Instagram. That's another way. Yeah, right. There's different ways to go out there and target. So then this is how we start coming up with our inbound ways. So we talk about, okay, who we're going to target. Like, and I'm not telling you to go out there and target one of these 5 niches. If you want more listings, I would then tell you to, hey, go pick one of these 5 niches. They're freaking amazing in this market. My favorites, just in case this is helpful: absentee owners, divorces, and pre-foreclosures. Not that I don't like expires and FSBOs, but expires and FSBOs are going to be the most competitive because they're the most popular. The sweet spot is always, okay, where's their big demand and big need? So these other 3 convert every bit as good as expires or FSBOs. Absentee owners converts even a little bit better. But then I have the least amount of competition. I don't have 100 other agents in my market attacking these like I do with FSBOs and expireds, right? So it's just the least. I always look at what's the least path to resistance to maximize results, right? Like if I can just get results and do it, it's easier and less work. Okay, I'm going to go out there and do that, right? So then from there, now we got, okay, we got who we're going to target, who we're going to target. Then, okay, how are we going to target them? Whether that be phones, whether that be email marketing, whether that be mailboxes, whether that be online and showing up in front of their eyeballs online, like, door hangers. Like, there's lots of ways of how we're going to target them. Then from there, the other important thing that you need to know is, okay, what does my message then need to be? Right. So I'm just making some notes here so I don't get off track here. So, who we're targeting, how we're targeting them. Now we got message. And there's one last component I want to talk to you about, but we'll get into the message first. So the message, right? You got to understand what's going on in that lead's head. We got to understand the psychology per lead source, right? So when it comes to the messaging, this is going to be, okay, if I'm doing the phones, okay, what scripting do I need? Yeah, right. If I'm doing letters, okay, how's my letter going to read? So I'll give an example here. Expireds, right? So, okay, what's going on in their head? I call it the triple whammy gut punch. Okay, number one, they had these real estate goals that they were excited about that became unmet. So now, boom, that's gut punch number one. Number two, their home just got rejected by the marketplace. They listed their home for sale. Nobody wanted it. So their home at something special. It got rejected by the marketplace. Bam, gut punch number two. Gut punch number three is they hired this real estate agent that told them they could get the job done. That then let them down. They got disappointed. Boom, gut punch number three. So then I understand that my messaging then needs to be, not in this exact way, but I need to get them to know, understand, and truly believe this through my messaging. That, hey, look, your home wasn't the problem. You got a beautiful home. Your home wasn't the problem. Number two, your goals can 100% still be met. Number three, the problem is that you made the mistake by hiring the wrong real estate professional. The good news is I'm here. I can get the job done. Right? That's what I need to get them to know. I need to get them to understand. I need to get them to believe that through. So whether my messaging is over the phone or whether it's through my letter. So example, when I send out my letter, I got a picture of their house, like cute, like right when they open up the letter, boom, picture of their house, right? It's an attention grabber. We got to grab people's attention, right? So I got a picture of their house. Then above the picture, it says, sometimes even the finest of homes do not always sell. Yeah, right. So right out of the bat, I'm telling them, hey, your home wasn't the problem. You got a beautiful home. Your home is the problem. Now I'm going to have very similar messaging to that when I get on the phone with them if I'm going to cold call them. So the message is the same, whether I'm calling, whether I'm doing email campaigns, whether I'm mailing them, whether I'm doing a Facebook ad to them, the message is the same. I'm entering the conversation that's going on in their head, and I'm speaking, because how I speak to a FSBO is different than an expired, different than an absentee owner, different than a divorce, different than a pre-foreclosure. Zelle leads different than a Facebook lead, and so forth, different than an open house lead, right? So then from there, if you want to get damn good at inbound, it's like, okay, just like if I want to get damn good on the phones, like with cold calling, or any element of any type of a strategy, which is a lot of them, when you got to get good on the phone. So you got to get good phone abilities. I got to get really good at not just my scripting, but I got to develop then the skill set of pre-framing, of mirroring, of tonality, of pacing, right? Of selling without selling. I got to get really damn good at those things. If I don't get good at those things, the words themselves matter very little. Yeah, right. I don't want to say the words aren't powerful. Yeah, we got to have a combination of words, but it's not just what you say. It's even more important and powerful of how you say it and how you deliver those words. Then from there, if I want to get really good at inbound marketing, so let's just say letter campaigns. Okay, I got to get really good at what's called copywriting. I got to know of, okay, how do I grab their attention? Then, okay, like if I'm, after I have their home, and then sometimes the finest the homes don't always sell. So like that, it's kind of the headline, the attention grabber, right? Then the small paragraph that I have below that, it's like, okay, I know that the whole purpose of line number one is to get them to read line number two, and so forth. And I got to get really good at my, copywriting with my call to actions and differentiators, right? So we got to get good at this stuff, right? Like most people will be like, oh, I tried letters, they didn't work for me, but they don't know how to structure a letter. They don't know how to get the letters open. They don't know how, you got to get good at these things. Otherwise you're going to suck at these things. Yeah. Right. Like, okay, I've never, I never played soccer growing up. My son plays soccer. So I go out there and practice with him, and every single last practice of the year, they are the season. They'll always do like a parents versus the kids, because he's like 11, right? So, but I go out there and I friggin' suck. Yeah, right. Now, if I really enjoyed that and I wanted to, go with that play and get better at it, okay, well, I need to then figure out what are the skill sets that I need. I got to learn the game at a higher level. I got to learn the skill sets at a higher level. Maybe it's a stupid analogy or whatnot, but most just don't assess, okay, what are the skill sets that I need to have success with this type of way that I want to go out there and grow my business. Yeah, right. Okay, so now we've then matched the messaging, right? Then from there, we got to understand the timeline. Right. Not just I talked about timeline earlier of how quickly you need a paycheck. That allows you to do, identify, the how you're going to deliver, your message, or how you're going to target the people that you want to target with your messaging. Some of that's going to be based on your timeline. Now, when I'm talking about timeline here, I'm talking about their timeline. Yeah. Right. Okay. What's the average timeline? Based on this. So with expireds, I know 10% of expireds relist in the first 90 days, 90% list between month 4 and that 2-year mark. So when I'm doing my letter campaign, right? My timeline allows me to know how long and how frequent I need to send out those letter campaigns. So I send a day one, then every 21 days for 6 months, then every 6 months for 2 years, right? So I can maximize my overall conversions, with that overall thing. So these are the things, if you want to get good at inbound, this is what you got to dial in and what you got to get good at. And it's all possible. Like I said, dude, I built the majority of my business. If I had to calculate it up, I have all my business from, almost day one has been tracked and measured. So I'd have to, I could have access to this data. But if I had to give my best guess, I'd say 90% has come from inbound, 10% has come from outbound. So, we'll do some outbound. I have some of my agents on my team that like outbound, that want to do outbound. For me personally, I grew my whole entire business personally through inbound, and most of my agents do that as well. So, but they all work. Everything works. Nothing doesn't, right? So if you don't need to do cold calling unless you want to. There might be some reasons as to why you might not, maybe you don't want to, but why you might need to, but it's all possible. So I just want you to know and understand that. Now, if you are a real estate agent, team leader, or broker owner, your business is not exactly where you need it to be. And if you want to, I'm willing to do a 1 hour long free Zoom coaching call with you if you want me to assess and break down your business and do a deep dive with you into your business. Now, I'm only doing these right now, at least with me recording this podcast. It is July 14th. My last one, hard cutoff that I'm going to do with these is going to be September 7th. Doesn't mean you can book it on September 7th. Like, that's my last one. Like, once I get booked out to that time, I'm cutting these off. So if this is something you want to take advantage of, I recommend that you do it sooner than later. But on this free, 100% free Zoom coaching call, so you got nothing to lose, everything to gain. There's no string attached, right? 100% free. I'm doing this right now because I know so many people are struggling in this market. We're going to do a 60-minute Zoom coaching call, breaking down your business, where your business is at, what your 12-month goals are, what your long-term goals, dreams, and visions are, what you're currently doing, what your biggest obstacles are. Then from there, I'm going to map out based on that and based on your skill sets and how you also want to grow your business. I'm going to break down exactly what I recommend that you do for your strategy plan to get you from where you're at to where you want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner possible. So if this is something that you want to take advantage of, go to www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. It's going to be me and you. Nobody else. It's not going to be like sometimes people say this because sometimes people jump on and say, oh, I'm surprised it's you. I thought it was going to be with one of your staff. No, it's going to be me and you. This is a coaching call with me and you. Again, 100% free, no strings attached, got nothing to lose, everything to gain. I promise you, this will be the most valuable damn hour that you've ever invested in your real estate business. Or at least I'm going to do everything I possibly can to do that. So I'm here to deliver. I'm not here to waste your time. I will help you out. So if it's something you want to take advantage of, www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. Or if you're driving, not able to write that down, just go to gsdmode.com. Top banner. There's a link to go out there and schedule this. All right, guys, appreciate you watching and listening. Keep crushing it. Appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.